So Ilaria Truzzi has started researching about gaming items in antiquity during her master's at the State University of Milano by analyzing the corpus of gaming items discovered in Impurias, and a key archaeological site in Catalonia, where both Greek, Iberians, and Romans cohabited. You can see it as Emporion on this map here. She is now continuing a broader research on the Spanish and Portuguese regions as part of her PhD project at the University of Reading. Her focus is the materiality and cultural heritage of games, sociability, and multicultural exchange through playing in ancient Iberia. So tell us more about this, Ilaria.
Thank you, Walter. So you hear me and you see the screen, right?
Yes, it's perfect.
All right. So yes, as Walter said, I've just started. Well, I started in September my PhD at the University of Reading. And oh well, first of all, before starting, I wanted to thank Walter and team to have been organizing this webinar. But yeah, let's go on. I started the PhD, and my focus is going to be about the Iberian Peninsula and how games differ from time to time and within different people that cohabited Iberia. So as you can see, like in the map, in this first map, you can see the names of many Celtiberian people that used to live in what are now Portugal and Spain. And you can also see some Greek colonies and also some Carthaginian colonies on the south. So the situation was very multicultural, and so like why is it Iberia a meaningful case study? First thing for this, because of the multiculturality of this region that was occupied by Celtiberian tribes and Greeks people and Carthaginians for a small period of time, and then it was conquered by the Romans. But there was a moment when it was a very long moment when Romans arrived in the peninsula. They cohabited with the local Celtiberian people for more than 2 centuries, and so the last knowledge that we have about the Celts in Iberia are at the end, more or less, at the end of the 1st century. BCE, so they cohabited for a very long time. And what I would like to see is if that can be shown, if that can be seen in the gaming culture that they have, because both Iberian people had their gaming culture, and we can find counters and dice in their burials as much as gaming item in their sites. And as much as we can do, we do find them in the Roman sites. So what I would like to see is how do they how were they connected with each other. One thing about this region that needs to be said is that the state of the field is well, there is abundant data, but it's mostly published locally. So the records don't meet international or European scientific journals. So yeah, we can say that it's maybe less keen to hear about this region in Europe. Also because they mostly publish in Spanish or Portuguese, and well, generally instead the languages of science in Europe are English or German, and this is a fact. So some people don't consider this, that it's also less research because of this reason, because most of the publications that you can find, so your review, your literature review, is in a language that maybe you don't know. And also they have published something about gaming, but the region still lacks like a systematic research and also comparative research of what has been found. And in the map, you can see a lot of Roman cities. Yeah, the majority of the Roman cities. So it's just to make you understand what happened when the Romans arrived. So the situation went from the previous map with all the Celtiberian people to this one. So as you can see, they were very widespread in the whole peninsula, and they were also, they had a lot of contact between themselves, because they used to have, yeah, they had wars, but some of them were also able to live peacefully close to each other. When my research started, I put on some research questions, what I would like to address, and these are some of them. These are not all my research questions, but some of them. Which gaming materials have been found in Iberia and where they're located? What does the spatial distribution of gaming items tell us about gaming practices in the region through time? And what is the role of games in cross-cultural connections between local Iberians and Greek and Romans? And these two questions are the most meaningful to me, because I would like to see, to analyze the multiculturality of the region and the interconnection of these different people. Also, does the material evidence show differences in gaming practices between urban and rural sites? This is another thing that I would like to see, because urban sites are considered to be more literate in some other regions. So I would like just to see if that can be safe for Iberia as well. What are the methodologies that I am applying? As I said, a diachronic approach will analyze different people that lived simultaneously. An interdisciplinary approach try to address also literary evidence of games. And about this, like 2 weeks ago, Marco gave an interesting speech about the literary evidence of game. But what I would like to see if there is something that is referred to the Spanish region, so very, very precisely to the Spanish region. And also depiction of games in art and iconography. And these ones, there is some evidence of this in Catalonia, where I mostly research in some of the museums in Barcelona and Girona, and the Museum of Empúries. They have some lequitos with some depiction of boys that play knucklebones. So I would just like to see if there are others of these examples. And to analyze the social and spatial distribution, I would use the GIS system. And so would like to create sort of a map of the different games that have been found. And last but not least, one of the most important thing is also to address the reports, like trade literature, and about excavation that were done decades ago, because I am in some cases, some of these have not been researched, and there are some excavation, very big excavation that was done the last century, and they didn't, they're not published, and the results of those are not published. But you can find some reports in the archaeological museum. It's the same thing that happened to me when I was researching in Empúries. They have all of these, and they have very meaningful information. So I would like to include that, and also field work. So I'm gonna go to Spain and to Portugal and visit museum and archaeological sites, and it's what I'm going to do in March through a short-term scientific mission. But to continue and to show you something, the items that I'm researching, that I'm including are so far are tesserae, tesserae illusorie, or animal-shaped tesserae, gaming tesserae in general, and counters of different material like glass or bone, ceramic, stones, dice shakers, knuckle bones, and game boards. And what you see here in the picture are 3 examples. So these are from the Museo d'Arqueologia de Catalunya in Barcelona. And I was in contact with the curator that showed me their catalog. They have a very huge gaming catalog that it's not updated, and it's not really analyzed properly. So they have old entries, and they don't know much about the history of these objects and how they came to the collection in the museum in Barcelona. So it would be more what needs to be done is to try and find more data about these objects. And some of these are, for example, this dice shaker, it's bone dice shaker. It says that they don't know, the report says that they don't know where was it found, but they do say they're dating. And why? Like, I would like to, when I go there, I would like to see who did this catalog and on which based they dated this object, but they don't know where does it come from. So I'm just going to develop all of these questions and ultimately find by answers. Another piece, the second one is instead identified as a counter. So yes, it can be a counter. Maybe it can also be something else. It can also be a decoration. It was interesting that it was found, the catalog identified that it was found in Empurias, and instead I didn't know about it because when I went to Empurias, they had another catalog and they didn't have this object. So it's just to say that they even don't know themselves where all their items are. And the last one instead, it was found, it's a glass counter, colored glass counter, and it was found in modern Ibiza, in the Balearic Island. And there is a lot of evidence there, and that comes from the island, and all of the items are stored in the Archaeological Museum in Barcelona. So there are pretty much 30, more or less 30 counters, and all with the same dating, bone or glass counters. But again, they don't know exactly where were they found in the island. And also, I believe the dating is a bit imprecise because it's also it varies. As you can see here, it says that the dating of these objects goes from 600 BC to 200. And yes, I would just like to see if there is more publication about it. And I'll go to Barcelona to do that. But it's interesting me that these objects are just they're not in on any exhibition. They are in their archives, hidden in their archives, and nobody has been researching about them. So it was good to find them, and that's one of the things that I would like to do that I'm going to do, because I'm going to work on different regions. And oh, let me see if it works. Yes, okay. Next thing is I would like to say something about game boards. These are mostly these are maybe the more researched specimens in Iberia. And I think that I would be able to find more or less all of them, because there is some comprehensive publication about it, but they're not updated. The most recent ones, they date back to 2013, 2014, so about 10 years ago. And so they basically need to be updated. But also what I see from these what I've seen from reading these reports is that they were like focused on some parts of the peninsula. So probably they had more data about some regions and less, and some other regions instead are less researched. In Spain, these reports identified 160 game boards, but again, this was 10 years ago, so it might be that there will be more. Whereas instead in Portugal, they identified 62 game boards, and 77% of these were graffiti game boards. But again, like the next data make you understand how these publications are focused on just some regions, because 60 game boards were just 60 out of 160 were just discovered in Italica, for example. And when I read that I knew that this is because Italica is very well researched, because it's a very tourist destination, and Andalusia has funds to address research there. And also all the other cities where they found gaming boards, they're all in Andalusia. So Sevilla, Cadiz, Cordoba. And why? Does that mean that in the other part of the peninsula there are no gaming boards? No, it doesn't mean that. It's just probably just means that this was just more researched 10 years ago. And Portugal, yes, it's there is a big publication that contains lots of alcaerques, and that is again maybe was a focus. Maybe they focus on alcaerques. Does it mean that there aren't any types of gaming board? No, they probably they were just not looked at, and it's what I'm doing instead. Generally, anyway, these publications, they show that common patterns were circle wheels enclosing intersecting lines. They were identified at gaming boards, these wheel patterns, but as far as we know now, they might not have been gaming boards. This is still arguable. Instead, there were square grids that they were with more certainty and identified as ludus latrunculorum with the duodecim scripta. And there are a lot of alcaerques, 9 and 12 man mores. And let's go on. Okay. I would just like to show you just 2 little examples. This gaming board was found in Catalonia, in a castellum. So it was a military fortress that was used by the Romans for a very short period of time, and that's important because we can more or less date the object. We can more or less date the gaming board. This one was found in a residential area, like outside of the wall perimeter of the fortress, and it was found where the soldiers would live in some of their on the areas where the soldier would live, and they would probably have played there. Also was found next to a fireplace, so they believe that that it was the reason why the gaming board is located there, because it was a spot where people would engage and playing. This board, also interesting fact, was not carved directly on the stone, and this can be seen on the images. You can see that there is a sort of lime stone layer above it, and maybe they did it, maybe they applied it to allow the carving process, but more easily. And it is identified as a ludus latrunculorum because it's 11 times 16 squares, and it's this has been published, and it is identified as a ludus latrunculorum. And then instead, another example, it's this one. It's this Nightmare Boris that is found again in the museum, archaeological museum in Barcelona, and it's next to like it's on the same stone with an epigraphy of Lucius Licinius Secundus. And this one, well, this is the text of the epigraphy, so we know they know that this Lucius Licinius Secundus was assistant to this Lucius Licinius Sura that was a consul. So they were able to, that was a consul in Tarraco in Barcelona. And so they were able to date the epigraphy, and they dated when this person, Lucius, was a consul, so 107, 108 AD. But they didn't do any research about the gaming board. So the curator asked me if I could tell him what is it and if I could tell him more about it. And well, in my opinion, probably this this epigraphy that was found then in a church was probably then just reused as a pavement, because of course you cannot play on, so like the game board, it's not simultaneously, it cannot be dated as the epigraphy. It was probably made before. That's my suggestion. No, so it was made after. And because probably the epigraphy was reused as a pavement that would allow playing. And then it was just found in a church, but not as a pavement. So we don't know the whole story of this epigraphy. But my guess would be that in a certain moment in their life it was reused, and it was reused horizontally, and it would allow playing. Maybe it was even a seat, or yes, or a floor. So we can date the gaming board after the epigraphy was not being used. And yeah, this is more or less what I have been researching in different regions, and trying to draw data from publications, but also not published data. So reaching out to museum, asking what they have, and so on. And I found that there is a lot that they have in the archives, and it's not been addressed yet. So what I'm going to do next, these are my next 3 travel that I will do. First thing next month, I'll go to the Valencian community, and I already contacted all of these museums that you can see here in Alicante, in Elche, Murcia, and I'm going to look into their material. But also I'm interested in going in their archaeological site of Ancient Ilici, so Elche, and the Luquencia, which is the Alicante, it's more than Alicante, and see if they have gaming boards. I've asked access for that, and they told me yes, and that nobody ever did it. So there might be. I hope that there will be maybe some graffiti gaming boards are around. And then another thing that I will do in May, I'll go to another region in Castilla y León, because they found because there is a lot of material in the archaeological museum in Burgos that I was told by a colleague, Stella Maris, that is also part of the action, and I would like to look into these little marbles that you can see in the pictures that were found in the cemeteries of the Celtiberian tribe that was called Vaquei people. And lastly, I will also go to the Archaeological Museum in Catalonia and try to look more into their catalog, and eventually also correct some of their records, because some of them are a bit misinterpreted. Some of the counters, in my opinion, were not counters, but they were spindle hordes. And last thing, these are some of the discoveries in León that are Alquerque de 12, they are 12 memories, gaming boards, and they found 10 of these. But again, these are still not published. But there are some blogs online that just talk about it, but they're not published scientifically. And here you can see one of these gaming boards. And in the picture on the left, you can see the color of the stone. This was found below a burial. This was a burial on a wall, and below it you can find it. So you would imagine that people would sit and play. But as you can see, the color is different. So this was probably, the color of the stone is different than the other. So this was probably moved, and that it might be the case for the other 9 gaming boards that they found there. So I was just like to go and see, to try to date them, this gaming board, or have a little bit more information about them. And yes, this is more or less what I wanted to share. These are all the bibliography that I've been looking at, and if some of you is interested, I can also share the PowerPoint or share more bibliography that I have been looking about gaming board. And now, yes, if I accept also like question or suggestion, because I'm going to do this trip soon, and if there is some suggestion of what I might do when I'm there to draw the data more correctly, I would accept those as well. So yes, thank you.